It isn't too often that a reissue literally takes your breath away. That's what happened when I held this in my hands, when I looked through it, and when I listened to it. This is a new reissue, the debut release from Gammaut Records, and the title is Pepper Adams Quintet. It was originally released on Mode Records in 1957. I first became aware of this release through our friend Matthew's channel, Belisario Sonic. I then saw an interview that was conducted by Christopher Brown on the WCB Jazz channel, and I suggest you all watch it. It is a wonderful interview with Philipe Berman, and the story of how this came to be. It's fascinating. I'll recap some of it here. Philipe was a passionate record collector. He was deeply into jazz, especially obscure titles that have never seen a reissue. His dream was to get these reissued in the highest quality, but he had no experience in this. And he started to go down a path to try to do this. It started with phone calls, emails, seeing who owned the rights to these records. And he had a list of titles, went through them one by one, got a lot of rejections, of course, and finally got a yes. And the yes was from VSOP Records, who owned the rights to this title. And they said, yes, we have a stereo tape available. Now, this record was originally issued in mono. And the story is that when Mode Records went through several hands after their demise, which their life was only about 6 months to a year, many of the tapes were lost. But they did have a few Mode tapes left, and this was one of them. What they had was a stereo tape, a stereo master tape, and a backup flat copy. The backup flat copy tape was made 50 years ago, so it's rarely been used. I don't think it's ever been used. And the decision was made to release this from the stereo tape. Previous reissues, which there have been a couple, have been fold downs from this stereo tape to make a mono record. Philipe decided for the ultimate fidelity to go with the stereo tape. So with that in hand, he had to decide on a mastering engineer. And who he chose, I don't think could be a better choice. He chose Bernie Grundman. And Bernie Grundman said yes. I can imagine what that must have felt like for Philipe. To have Bernie Grundman. I can't think of anyone better. He knows exactly how this music is supposed to sound. He was mastering for Contemporary Records in the same period. A great choice and a wonderful coup for this project. Now things were really rolling. With Bernie, he did some experimenting. He cut a 33 acetate and a 45 of the flat tape for Philipe, just to let him see if he could hear the differences. And everyone was leaning towards the 45. From there, he had two lacquers cut, one in 33 and 145, made test pressings, and it was decided by Philipe to go with the 45. Now, what's interesting about this is it's a short program. It's only about 30 minutes long. So it actually works perfectly on a single disc. And this is great news for people that don't like flipping 45s, but want to get the sound quality of a 45. Well, that's exactly what you're going to get here. From there, he had to decide on a pressing plant. And there's several great options available. He chose Gotta Groove pressing plant. So Gotta Groove is someone that I've had a few examples of, been quite impressed. he feels they're in the top echelon. And I have to say, after examining this record, that they did a wonderful job on it. It seems like the quality control was very strict, and the record was flat, silent, and centered. Beautiful. So he's got all that done. Now, what about the packaging? Well, you know, I'm a packaging guy. And when I saw this package, I was like, oh, I wish every reissue could be like this. Unbelievable. The attention to detail and care, the likes of which you don't see unless you buy Impex one-step releases. Take a look at this. This is beautifully reproduced. This beautiful illustration, the color is perfect. The detail is perfect. The type is perfect. It couldn't be done better. It's wonderful. Wonderful. This is the limited edition sticker. There are 2,000 of these available. The finish on this is the anti-scuff matte finish that we've been hearing about. And I have to say, I'm pretty impressed. You know, I'm kind of a gloss record guy, gloss cover guy, but this looks great. And I had a way to test out this finish because, of course, it doesn't pick up fingerprints. But I just noticed in an earlier take of this video, there was a little spot of something here, and I was able to clean it off with a liquid cleaner, and it didn't do any damage whatsoever. Try that with a matte cover, a regular matte cover. It looks absolutely beautiful. This is what's known as a monster pack jacket from Stoughton. It's usually just used in Impex's one-step releases. That's the only place I've seen them. If you've seen their Gets Gilberto one-step or the Frank Sinatra one-step, Sing and Dance with Frank Sinatra, you know what I'm talking about. A 40-page bound-in booklet here. Look at this. I'm gonna try to hold this so you can see it. The book is printed on really heavy stock. Beautiful. Photographs. This is all original new illustrations, which are really beautiful graphic designs. Lovely. The essay is extensive. It's written by Gary Carner. And Gary Carner is a historian and a biographer of Pepper Adams. So he tells the story of Pepper Adams' life and music from the 40s up until he released this record. It's extensive. It enhances your appreciation of Pepper Adams, of the jazz scene, of why this record is so important. Look at those illustrations. It's it's unbelievable that they could include this with this record. I really didn't expect this, and I'm so pleased that they felt strongly enough to give this the royal treatment. That's the essay. Can you believe that? And then this is about the players on the quartet. This is by Stephen Serra. And then you get a bit on Mode Records here. So this is the Mode Records story, which is an interesting story too. Get some documentation, and then the production notes from Philipe Berman about how this reissue was produced. Why 45? Why stereo versus mono? And all the technical details about it. Okay, so I'm pretty impressed so far. The music. I'm not a jazz expert, of course. Not a musician. I started collecting jazz about 4 years ago. I was focusing on like 1959 to 1963 or so, maybe a little bit further in some cases. So that's the period I knew. When I first heard this struck me as a slightly earlier type of sound. Definitely not like 30s and 40s, but it felt like early 50s, which this was done in 1957, and Pepper Adams is from that earlier era. naturally it's going to have that sound. And, I was like curious about it when I heard the stream, but when I heard the record, the sound won me over. Bernie Grundman did a wonderful job with this. I had never heard Pepper Adams before in his baritone saxophone, and the reproduction on the saxophone is so alive and beautiful. It's burnished sounding. It feels like rounded and full. There is no edge on, there's bite, but there's no harsh edge on anything here. Bernie Grundman is a master at this. When there are horns or brass instruments, he's able to keep it in check, give you the brilliance, but not the hash and the harshness. And that's one of the greatest achievements of this record, is the sound of Pepper Adams. The other players on the record are Stu Williamson on trumpet, Carl Perkins on piano, Leroy Vinegar on bass, and Mel Lewis on drums. Everyone sounds great. The drums sound wonderful too. Very nice detail up in the cymbals. Beautiful. Piano sounds good. The stereo effect on this is it's early stereo. So if you've heard any of the contemporary reissues, you know how this early stereo goes. It's sort of panned to the sides. But in this case, on my system, it didn't bother me. I didn't really sense like a hole in the middle. It felt like a full picture and a ensemble feel to the whole proceedings. The music goes by so quick, man. You want it to last longer. But the music was engaging, especially with this type of sound quality. Overall, I have to say that this is one of the most exciting projects that I've seen in a while, certainly this year. And I want to urge everyone to stream this and consider supporting this venture. A fledgling company, a small company that is trying to do everything right, and they did, deserves our support. All analog jazz, rarely reissued titles, using the best in the industry, Bernie Grundman, and doing this elaborate documentation for a release that shows the love behind this music and this artist. It's quite impressive. You can get this record directly from the Gammaut website. I'll leave a link to it in the description box below. If you're in Europe, there are a couple of contacts there, which I will let you know in the description box. I'm going to have to search the video where they're mentioned, the video interview on WCB channel. Overall, this is a very impressive debut. I hope you like this video. Let me know what you think about this project. And until next time, I'm Scott for the Pressing Matters. Have a great day.